All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am about to tell you one of the scariest stories that you are ever going to hear if you are someone who is a necro traveler and a cemetery photographer. November 2020. The Necro Tourist, we traveled south to the Carolinas. We were spending 3 days. Day number 1 was going to be in Asheville, North Carolina. Day 2 in Charlotte. Day 3 in Columbia, South Carolina. So, as we arrive in Asheville, we visit all the places that we intended to visit. Day 2, we arrive in the greater Charlotte area. Now, for those of you who are serious photographers, maybe you do like I do, and you carry multiple cameras. I carry 3. I often ping-pong back and forth based upon what the subject is, who it is, especially really important people. You know, some of the people we visited that day, like Billy Graham, I shot with multiple cameras because I sometimes get better angles, different camera shots. Anyway, so back to the point. Is while we were in North Carolina, we decided to go to one of the most haunted cemeteries in the area, the Hopewell Presbyterian Cemetery. And we also went to Billy Graham's burial location, where there was also several members of his television show buried there alongside of him, and near him, rather. We then rolled on to downtown, where we picked up the Old Settlers Cemetery, which is another haunted location downtown. And we finally moved on to the really big one in downtown, or in the Charlotte area, which is the Elmwood Cemetery. This place is legendary. Couldn't wait to get there. Right beside it is the Pinewood Cemetery, and we go there as well. So we shoot all through there. We go on to our next day, which is Columbia, South Carolina. We picked up several of the big cemeteries there. And we continued to move on to wrap up our trip. Now, we arrive back. This is, again, a 3-day trip. We come back at the end of 4 days, or at the end of 3 days. And, we have practices as soon as we get in. How we do our loading, write our stories, unload our cameras, blah, blah, blah. We start doing what we do. Now, I don't know how many of you have actual cameras or you use your phone, but we use Canon equipment and we use Fuji equipment as well. Now, some cameras, depending upon what they do, your cameras will actually group your photos by days that you shot them, or some cameras will group them by the numbers of photos you shoot, say by the thousands. Also, another factor about cameras are, some of them, while you're unloading photos, batteries will die in the middle, or some are charging while the batteries are unloading. So anyway, I can't wait to get back because we have shot tremendous amounts of famous people in all 3 cities, and I'm looking forward to examining the photos. So I unload them. I actually unload the Canon photos, and I get them into the main frame that we use. Then I start to unload the Fujis, which again, I mentioned before, they do by the per photos. Now, while I was in the middle of shooting the group, the camera died. So I didn't really have a problem with what happened because I knew that I unloaded Group A from the Canon. I had unloaded Group A from the Fuji, and I knew when I got back when I put a new battery in, I needed to unload Group number 2 into the main frame and delete Group 1. So we began to talk about some of the things that had happened and what we'd experienced, the haunted things that we had seen, and we were looking forward to what the images were going to be that were the spooky images. Was it going to be orbs? What was it going to be? So when I got back into the battery, I put it back in, and I started to unload the cameras. And then we continued to talk about the other place that we had seen where the ghosts were known to walk around in the Hopewell Presbyterian Cemetery, and then we were really excited about the ghosts that were going to be at Elmwood. So as we were going to open up the photos and look at them, suddenly there were none. 638 photos that were shot at the Hopewell Presbyterian Cemetery, one of the most haunted in North Carolina. The Billy Graham burial site. Photos gone. Elmwood Cemetery, one of the most haunted places in North Carolina. The photos were gone. What happened to the missing 638? 638 photos. Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, your worst fear and my worst fear. When I inserted the battery back in, instead of unloading Group 2 and deleting Group A, I deleted Group 2 and unloaded for the second time Group A. So by my own inability to have a double-check system or to stop talking rather than paying attention to how I unload my cameras, I lost 638 photos from Charlotte, North Carolina.